Why are we always getting involved in everyone else's trouble?
Because we're the frickin' Guardians of the Galaxy.
Hello and welcome back to Movie Raves, where we talk about all things movie. This week it's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Have you seen it? Because wow! In this episode we will talk about what I liked, what could have been better, and is it worth watching? So stick around. And before we get into it, please hit like and subscribe and share some love. This was the highly anticipated finale to the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. The film has always been the stepchild of the larger MCU canon, following the ragtag team of grumpy anti-heroes who would do anything to protect their family, even if it means taking on a sadistic and devilishly fun the High Evolutionary. The installment really focuses on Rocket, giving the character time to shine and step into a main character role and complete his hero's journey. We learn about his past and cheer him on as he confronts his demons and steps fully into his power. I cried. I'm not afraid to admit it, and I know I wasn't the only one in the theater shedding a tear. The film follows the Guardians on a quest to save Rocket, who was injured in the attack of Adam Warlock. It's a race against the clock to find the genetic passcode in Rocket's modified DNA in order to save him. There is a reconnection with the Ravagers and Gamora, a heist in a fleshy organic blob in outer space, a stop on a planet full of animal humanoids, and several emotional flashbacks. Peppered throughout is the witty dialogue and innovative and hilarious fight scenes Guardian is known for. What I like. This film was explosive and colorful. James Gunn managed to balance humor and wit with emotion and poignancy. I thought James Gunn nailed it. Guardians of the Galaxy excelled where many of the other recent MCU films have fallen short. Where Ant-Man Quantumania felt rushed and underdeveloped, Guardians of the Galaxy was able to pull on well-loved tropes and characters but still feel fresh. The stakes were high. It was anyone's game and anything could happen. I was convinced one of the team would die, but luckily I was spared another round of tears. Speaking of tears, the first shot of baby Rocket and his litter of raccoon babies set the tone for the film and primed my emotions. It was a fantastic way to set up the villain. It's a good thing that John Wick doesn't have raccoons for pets because the High Evolutionary wouldn't stand a chance. I liked the High Evolutionary as a villain. The film did a nice job of making me both despise him and feel for him. I understood why he was doing what he was doing, his need for perfection and obsession for it and Rocket. At the same time, he had moments of kindness and genuine affection for Rocket, which helped to humanize him as a villain. He was not just a black baddie with no depth. There was a subtle nuance. Rocket's confrontation with the High Evolutionary was well-deserved and cathartic. It felt like Rocket was finally able to let go of his past in a way that will usher in new healing. I also liked the flashback elements about Rocket's time in the lab and his friends. Lila was mentioned in the first Guardians film as a known accomplice of Rocket. But the truth of their relationship is so much more tragic, but also hopeful. In the darkest moments of their short lives as animal experiments, the four friends found time for laughter. The scene where they each named themselves was a powerful moment of identity and agency. In a world where they had nothing and were nothing but an expendable number, naming themselves was powerful. The dialogue and character exchanges were spot on. Each one of them had a small growth and arc. Nebula learned that the members of her team were important and valuable, even if in ways that she did not consider them to be. Mantis learned that she had agency and desires of her own. Her setting out at the end of the film was both sad but also powerful. I'm sure she'll return to nowhere a much more powerful and confident person. Drax came into his full self not as a warrior but as a nurturer and father figure. Groot kept growing and spoke something other than "I am Groot." That was unexpected. Rocket stepped into leadership, taking over from Quill, who retired from the Guardians and returned to Earth to reconnect with his grandfather, and Gamora, who had been struggling to synthesize her version of the universe with this one, has found a family with the Ravagers and come to accept that another version of her loved Quill, and perhaps she has space for friendship with him. What could have been better? One major change about this installment is the violence. Unlike other MCU films and other Guardian films, this one is much more graphically violent. It's not really kid-friendly, and there were moments that almost felt gratuitous, like the decapitated pig's head. I don't think it was necessary and was likely done in order to be edgy. There's a trend right now that if a superhero film is gritty, dark, rated R, and dropping a few curse words, it's more realistic or better. That's not always the case. I don't mind the F-bomb, but I don't think much of the violence was necessary. The same thing goes with the animal violence. I didn't mind it as part of the plot, but some of the imagery was bordering on things from a nightmare and a horror film and will likely be disturbing to some viewers, particularly those not expecting it. Another complaint was the overly focused emotion on the possibility of Rocket's death, but then very little on the destruction on Counter-Earth. All intelligent life on that planet was destroyed, but I didn't feel anything. A moment to sit with that reality could have added to the depth of the film. I also struggled with the organic matter of orgoscope. This happened in the Ant-Man 2, and the MCU seems to be on a gooey, fleshy kick, making actors put their hands into all assortments of ooze and slime. So, skip or watch. This one you should watch. Overall, it is a satisfactory conclusion to the franchise. Individual character arcs feel wrapped up and finished. There's room for more stories, but if this is the final for any of these guys, I would be satisfied. The writing holds up, and it's clear Gunn spent time developing the best story he could. Sure, there are faults, but I think the good elements outweigh the bad. I would give it an 8 out of 10. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit like and subscribe. See you next time.